Why are you guys out here this morning?
Well, today's a national day of, we're trying to rally for the post office. I'm sure you've heard of all the things that are going on with the new PMG, some cuts that have been made, some, cuts to the services that we provide. Of course, we're looking to, it's been brought into question whether we'll be able to handle the election mail, something that we've been doing for years without any question until this year. All of a sudden, it's an issue. All of the people that work for the post office, election mail we handle as highest priority. From the people in the plant that move it to our letter carriers to move it on the street, it's considered high priority mail. We make sure that mail gets delivered. Obviously this year there's going to be a huge influx of mail-in ballots because of the virus. And we'll have no problem handling that. We would ask that people try to get their ballots in as soon as possible, preferably at least a week before Election Day, and we should have no problem whatsoever.
And you bring up, the Postmaster General's testimony yesterday. Like I mentioned to Henry, he seemed to not know about some of the basic functions of the post office. Does that concern you?
Absolutely, 100% it does. I mean, as postal workers, we're willing to give the guy a chance, but before we start, beating up on him. But coming out the box, he hasn't done anything properly the way a postal person who's dedicated, the postal worker who's dedicated would do, like the previous postmasters have. In the last 20 years, he's the first one not to have come from the ranks from the post office itself. What's
been going on here at the Youngstown post office? I mean, with those changes that Louis DeJoy has, implemented, how has that affected the work done here?
Well, on my end, again, I deal with the letter carriers. We don't seem to have missed too much of a beat there. We're getting the mail delivered. I don't notice on the carrier side of the floor any mail sitting. So the mail that's coming to us, to the letter carriers, is getting delivered all on that day. Of course, I've heard some reports from across the country. I've talked with other people in other parts of the country. There are some delays there. Mail's being delayed. Sits on the floor, doesn't go for a day or two. Some mail's being brought back because we're not providing enough of the manpower to get that mail delivered.
Are the financial concerns about the post office, are those legitimate concerns, or is that something that's kind of being overblown in all of this argument?
The financial constraints on the post office are manufactured by design. Way back when Congress passed the PAEA, that started putting the nails in the coffin for the post office. It was an artificial deficit. Having no business ever before had to put up $5 billion before they made any kind of profit. Before they sold their first stamp, they had to put aside $5.5 billion. So you're already starting on a $5 billion hole. Without that PAA, the post office has turned a profit.
Things are happening across the country. Usually that's the way it is in the post office. Things will start in one part of the country, and as they move along, if we continue down these lines, I believe that it's probably only a short matter of time, until some of those service cuts that they're experiencing in other parts of the country, we're going to start experiencing here also, if we continue along the same lines by cutting. Of course, the Postmaster General said he's reversed course. He's not going to continue forward with any of these movements until after the election. But, we need to keep the pressure on now, because obviously we've seen what some of those cuts can do right now. If we go right back to that after the election, the same thing is going to happen. I would like to thank the American public, because it's so refreshing to see that they, when these problems started happening, they immediately came to our defense. They've been out, there have been rallies and protests. I know Saturday there were several in our valley alone. They're happening across the country today. I think the American people really get it. They know the importance of the post office, and they're coming to our defense. And everybody that works for the post office, from the people that work inside to the letter carriers, we really appreciate that support from the American people.
For over a century, Farmers National Bank has stood strong. Through booms and busts, peaks and valleys, we've learned to know the seasons and how to grow in each of them. During challenging times, everyone is reminded of the value of solid relationships in both life and business. Farmers, stand strong.